trying to find it too.
Did that salary survey go out in the public, in the press
Oh,
packet?
No, it was in our email. That's where it was.
Still. That, the survey?
The
Oh, no,
survey
here it
is
is.
on
I
our
found it.
iPads.
I found it. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, from UAC.
Kind of curious, is if you were to say, what county do we compare the closest to?
Just population-wise?
No, just everything wise. You know,
Well,
just kind of our
probably-
cost of living that's up here, our
Oh, yeah.
demographic, I don't know, just a little bit of everything. What would you really compare it to?
We always tend to default to to Washington County, but I think their cost of living is quite a bit higher
I
than,
don't think we're at all like.
no, I don't think we are.
No, their cost of housing is much more than we are.
I don't know. Who do we compare most closely to?
Kind of our own world.
Well, we are. Daggett, we compare to Daggett.
They are really in their own world.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
What are those 3 employees getting?
Yep. Can you imagine a population of 980 people in the whole county?
You know, it's hard for me to, to me, I don't think there's much of a really of a, it tells you basically what the state's doing, where they are, but we're still not real, I think Cache County just needs to look at Cache County a lot of ways,
Yeah.
so.
We have in the past, and it's
And a lot of these,
done well for us.
those salaries, if you look back, those salaries of the elected officials, they're, I think some of the elected officials have a little bit more responsibilities and maybe a larger staff underneath them to work with and more legal issues. I look at like the assessor's office and there's, they're always having, they read those fun books that are this thick, code after, all that stuff, which all of them do anyway, but, it's, so I think you're proportionate. I'm real curious about the one right here though, our surveyor.
You didn't know I was
I didn't know he was a surveyor. So
I got some work for you.
Yeah, yeah, we got some.
We may be taking another look at that this new year.
Well, and
We may want to combine our recorder and our survey.
but I don't think it's bad to look at everything.
Yep.
If there's a better fit that we do it here at the county, let's look at all of them and split some duties, responsibilities, and do what's best for, them and the county.
Well, as we look down through this at all, what are our thoughts about our elected officials? We're not talking council yet. We're just talking about other elected officials. Does the proposed salaries for this coming year seem reasonable to everybody?
I have not had anyone come and complain to me, so other years I have had that happen. But I don't know if our HR person has a better gauge of that, or do you know anything about
Has
what?
a better gauge.
Well, okay.
Look at it just as Cache County, as Dave was saying, and say, well, what else is happening in Cache County from other elected officials in the cities and towns or the schools, some of the other quasi-governmental entities. Cache County is really very well managed and fiscally responsible in comparison.
Yeah, yeah, we really are. Well,
I'm very comfortable with it.
So am I.
okay, it's an initial proposal for consideration. If we want to act on it tonight, we can waive the rules and do so.
What changes from last year, though, is there here?
Elected officials, it's a 3%.
Is it
Yeah.
3% change?
Same as the other, up to 3%.
And which was crossed?
Across the board,
Okay,
we have
I just,
employees in the budget.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we waive the rules and approve ordinance 2020-15, changes of salaries for Cache County elected officials.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Our next one is ordinance 2020-16, providing for salaries for members of the Cache County Council for 2021. Let's see, Gordy, you said
They're
you,
a lot less than the others.
yeah. You said you were going to suggest that we go up to Millard County level, is it?
Well, the one thing that I've of course been on the council longer than anyone else, so I've sat through all these budget hearings for quite a few years. And it just seemed like, we were committed as county council members to, never raise our salaries and our compensation, but always stay exactly the same. Quite a few people said, I'm not doing it for the money, and I don't think anyone's doing it for the money, or they wouldn't be here. But I'm also aware of the amount of time that I spend doing it, and my time's worth money. I run a business, and I'm asked to leave. I'm asked to leave my farm, and I'm asked to leave my business to come to these meetings. And I think that we, in comparison to everyone else in the state, and also understanding that our time is valued to each one of us, no matter what our walk in life is, I think we should look serious about raising the compensation that we get even a little higher than the 12.9. I think it should be, maybe another $1,500 higher than that. Now, that's just something to be thrown out. And I think it's something that everyone needs to discuss. I've sat on the council for, I'm finishing up my 16th year, and in that 16 years, as I recall, our salaries only went up. We had a little bump one year, and other than that, it stayed about, well, it might have been bumped 2 years, but I think I started out, it was in the $9,000 range, and these many years later, it's just where you can see it is at now. And I think each one of you council members also feel that your time's worth something. And I thought I would just bring it up for discussion and make a suggestion. And so after I've done that, then the rest of you are going to have to make a comment so that we know where to proceed.
I think it's interesting to look at what the other county councils in the state, what their members make, because I don't know that the public has the benefit of looking at maybe what we're looking at right now.
Correct.
If you look at Morgan County with a population of 12,000, and they're a county of the 4th class, their council members make $24,000 a year. Look at Grand County, county of the 5th class, population of 9,000. Their council members, looks like they make $30,000 a year.
Are they council members or
Grand is a council.
commission?
Grand is a council, part-time council, so is Morgan, they're part-time council. Wasatch is a part-time council, they make $29,000. They're a county of the 3rd class. And our council members, part-time council, is at $12,500. So you know, the people of Cache County are really getting a good deal from the service, and I know none of us do it for the money. I don't. When I ran for this,
No.
I didn't even know we got paid.
I
just
didn't,
wanted
I
to do
didn't
it.
either.
It was a bonus.
I didn't either.
But just so that the public is aware of how Cache is spending that money and what our council members are getting paid, I'll throw that out there.
I have to agree with Gordy. Time is worth a lot. My time is worth a lot. And then also, I think when you start, you're traveling, like we've got people that travel in from Smithfield and Richmond and Paradise and all over, that's gas money that's spent too, you know, and like Gordy says, I'm not in it to get rich, but I do think there should be some kind of compensation for the time that we do give to the county.
Well, I think it's important to note when you talk about travel, you know, I mean, Gordy commented on, and it would be the same with Dave, you have a committee meeting in the middle of the day, you shut down your farming operation, you jump in the car and you drive in and you lose a couple of hours of work on your farm, and so it does, there are costs, and I don't know if, I've never really done a scientific survey of the hours spent, but I spend probably between 15 or 20 hours a week, and in doing things for the county.
And one thing you probably don't see, you see these meetings, but there's also the boards and committees that we all serve on, where, like you're saying, it isn't just at night. The one thing that shocked me was how many daytime meetings that you have, where I've got to build my schedule around that as well professionally, and there's, I think we're all very fortunate that we have that flexibility to do that.
Right.
But it does take up a significant amount of time that I was not aware of.
You weren't expecting, were you?
I was not.
Well, this is an initial proposal. We don't have to act on it tonight.
I was thinking there's another thought to this, so, is, if you boost, you know, if you do raise these, which it didn't happen here, because, you know, like I say, when I remember when I came in and Craig went to county executive, and that's when I got on the county council. I didn't know either. I didn't know they got paid. I thought it was just a service to your community. But if you raise that, would that lure? Would that be an incentive for more people to get involved, or is it a disincentive, or is it, you know? I guess I'm sitting there to get more people like energetic about it, you know, active in, you know, saying, hey, you know, I'd like to, you know, is it money, is it insurance, is it, you know, I guess I'm trying to see how it would impact on quality of the people that would want to run. You know, is it something that, you know, right now is it limiting to people that are just have a flexible schedule, or flexible, income producer or something like that? I know when I was teaching school, I think the school hated me because they wondered if I was ever going to be there. I was back and forth and running, and I think they saw my wife student teaching or substitute teaching more than they saw me at times. But you know, back and forth, how does that affect all that? You know.
I thought the same thing, Dave. I was wondering if, you know, if people, would it make a draw for others to be more involved too? I thought that same thing.
At least for me, as I look at it, the only struggle I have is that if, and this I think is what makes it hard for the council in general, right? Because we're sitting on it and you're voting, the way it would look is you're voting yourself a raise. Mm-hmm. If I could say something along the lines of, I have no problem saying where the Cache County has the most, the lowest paid council in the state, and it's not even close, it's by over half. And if I wasn't sitting here, or it wasn't gonna benefit me, I would think that it would easily, you could vote for more, for that position. And so would it make it easier to say, I'd vote to raise it, but I wouldn't benefit from it until everybody had a chance to vote me out for raising it? But then I think that would still be a benefit to the council type thing. I think that's the hardest part, is you don't wanna be seen as.
If there's a little more compensation for our positions, I think people, when they are interested in putting their name in the hat to run for the council, they can see there's some compensation there. I think that would at least help them make a decision that, well, it will help a little. I won't have to leave my work and get nothing out of it.
Well, it costs a lot to run for office.
That's the other thing, campaigning, it costs a lot.
It was the craziest thing, and when I was first campaigning the very first year, the opponent that I had, he spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, to be a county councilman, and I thought, you're gonna spend that amount of money, and all you're gonna be compensated is maybe 20% of what you're spending? I mean, this is really crazy. And anyway, that's just one of the observations that I had when I was there. I couldn't even possibly begin to spend the amount of money he did on the campaign, but it was obvious he wanted a lot more than I did, I guess. But anyway, I think everyone pretty well knows that I've announced that I'm going to be in for 2 more years, and then I'm going to step aside and let someone else fill my position. And I would like to see somebody be able to be compensated a little bit more and have more of an incentive to come in and be a candidate that will replace me, that has that in their mind, that will get compensated to some degree, and hopefully will attract the best that can come.
So if you did something like that, money's gotta come from somewhere. So that's less voting machines. Anyway, I don't know,
That's right.
we have to find where it's coming from to do that. And, it's a fine line as to, that people are coming in here for genuine service, or, like you said, those that are paying that much for this job, either their ego is just exploding, or
Haven't got a clue.
or, and I will say, or they are in here to be of influence for a specific purpose. And that's why you want to keep it genuine and I don't know, as pure as you can. We do what we do. So that's.
Well, I suggest that we think about this for another week. I really do. I think we need to think about it another week, discuss it among people that we run into, among ourselves, and come back with some more ideas.
Okay.
The proposal.
And maybe I need just to ask Cameron, was there any increase in the council member's salary in our budget?
Yeah, it was allowed for a 3%, the same as.
Okay.
There is sufficient.
Okay.
So the proposal's only for about, what, $400
Yeah.
increase? I'm certainly not advocating to go up to what Morgan County's at or something like that. I agree with you, Dave. A little more, I wouldn't be opposed to Gordy's idea, so,
Let's give it some thought.
yeah, just good to think about.
All right. Well, let's see. We're not going to act on 2020-16 then. We've got 12D, Resolution 2020-26, adopting the 2021 Cache County budget. We've vetted this pretty thoroughly, and we can act on it if we waive the rules tonight.
I, Mr. Chairman, would like, Cameron sent us a bunch of, or not a bunch, it was one of the few one-page documents that I've ever seen Cameron generate with new employees. But we've got a request for,
Right.
we've got a request for, a new employee for the clerk and also a new employee for the county attorney's office. And one thing that the council in past years, and maybe even during our period of time, it was taboo to request for more employees without, really having an explanation of the need for it. And I've been contacted by the attorney's office, and I understand their need to some, but I still would like to have a brief comment from our attorney as to his scope of the future and that, so that we're all hearing it from the same source. And also the clerk needs to come and explain to me what's going on with an additional employee there.
I agree.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we probably need to add these as agenda items for our meeting next week. And
I think James would too. That's good. Let's hear it.
yeah, that's just fine.
I appreciate the carefulness of the council with the budget. Over the years, I've never asked for a raise as county attorney. It's public service. And in days past, Jim Smith used to get mad because I'd use my increases to get my attorney's wages up because they've been low. And it's just something we've been very careful over the years. In the 11 years I've been county attorney, I've come to the council once to ask for a new employee. And that has been for a civil attorney. We can exist or we can be effective. And John, I'm so glad they approved that position, because that work and we believe John will be here for 20 more years, and that's a great investment, and it will pay dividend after dividend after dividend. So I just want you to know we've been careful in our office. I did a little research. I've done this before in an annual report, but let me just tell you where Cache County falls out on the realm of, I've got 5 or 6 counties here that I've talked to, from Summit to Washington, and you talk about being like other counties. So let me just illustrate where we sit. We are not at the top of the heap when it comes to employees per 100,000 people. So you try to even it out, right? Employees. So Summit County has 8 attorneys, 8 deputy attorneys. I have 8 as well, but one of those is fully dedicated on a contract to Logan City, so they do no county work. So I have 7 deputies doing the county's work, whereas Summit has 8. You take their population of 42,000 and do the math, that's roughly 19 per 100,000 people, if you were to take it out. Uena County has 6 deputy attorneys, and they have 36,000 people. They're the next highest, and that's 16 per 100,000. So I'll skip down. Carbon has 3, that's 15, because their population keeps declining. Unlike, that's a different county, isn't it, than everywhere else. Iron County has 5, that's roughly 9 per 100,000. And we keep going down to catch up with Cache. Cache has, I have 7 deputies with 128,000 people, and that puts us about 6.25. I will say there was only one lower than us, and the text was kind of funny. I text Steve Hatfield, how many deputies do you have? And he says, not enough. And they're about 0.9 less than us. That's the lowest. So we're right at the bottom in northern
County
Utah.
was that?
In Box Elder. And Steve is stressed, and he's maxed. And I come to you tonight. Actually, this has been sent to most of you by email. The numbers are back in March. I didn't want to come to the council during COVID, but this need has existed. And I just recently, I've got My sex crimes prosecutor's had some health problems, and I was with him last night. And I don't want to make anything very public, but the discussion was, would these have happened without the stress? He's currently carrying, from 2000, the back of the handout shows you 146 cases from June 19 to March of 2020, so that was later this year. That's an enormous amount of cases, and these cases are really the most difficult cases we handle. They're worse than murder in time that's invested in them, in the effort and emotional energy, and just the difficult circumstances that they come under. And we have one attorney doing that right now, and he's spending a tremendous amount of time, 70-plus hours a week, trying to manage these cases, working at home, doing all that he can do. It's too many cases. That has been an increase over the last 5 years. You'll see some increases in 5-year windows. Really, statistically, you don't want to look at 1 year because you can have 200% increase in 1 year. But over 5 years, we've had over 200% increase in those types of cases that my sex crime prosecutor handles. So these are the cases that he handles: child sexual abuse, physical child abuse, child pornography, unlawful sexual activity with a minor. And these it's unimaginable the crimes that occur against children and adults. Rape, object rape, forcible sodomy, forcible sexual abuse, kidnapping, murder and attempted murder, aggravated assault, domestic violence in the presence of a child. Those are the types of cases that they handle. He can't do it anymore. We can't have just one prosecutor handling that. We've been trying to fill gaps, and we've been letting other things go like restitution and getting restitution and following up and getting order to show causes. Some other things we've been trying to just plug it with the staff we have. We're not making it, and so I come to the council to ask for that. And we've worked out, our office actually has gone out, and we get some of the money we get from Logan City with our contract. Nibley City contributes to our budget. The county that comes back, we've just contracted with Bear River Health to do some tobacco enforcement, which brings another $26,000 in. We've hired a new attorney where Spencer left, and we have $38,000 on top of that. And so it's in the budget, and Cameron has worked out those details, but it's just the request that we move forward, that we take some of the pressure off of the attorneys in my office. They're all working hard. They're not lollygagging. They have plenty of work to keep them busy. And this year we haven't had cases, but in 2019 we tried 8 sex assault cases, which you just don't see that happening in many places, and we won all of those. And the national statistics are you win less than half of those. So we're doing the very best we can, and we want to move forward and be exceptional in our work, and this will help us to keep a high standard of prosecution. So I just ask for your support. You've always been supportive of our office. We appreciate it. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And if you want any of this data, the green sheet's been sent to you. I'll add one more with some of the data of attorneys around the state, but we are on the low end.
If you would, I think that would be helpful.
Definitely do that, Chairman. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, and thanks for everything you do.
Just a quick question. You know, we've been growing.
Mm-hmm.
There's some massive growth going on, you know, and is this compounding?
Yeah.
And then COVID, I mean, all these kind of things that are causing some issues, you know, with some abuse problems and things that, I guess all of this is coming to roost right now.
Yeah, you look at the CAPSA and the increase in cases that they've had, people coming to receive their services. Yeah, it's been, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress. People aren't functioning well. I think alcohol stores are selling more alcohol. That doesn't help our business. Quite frankly, drugs and alcohol drive what we do. And so it is, and that's a good point, Councilman Erickson. Not only are our sex crimes going up, but there's a slide in here too that shows the other crimes that are going up. So we're not asking for more attorneys to cover all that even, right? We're just trying to absorb that the best we can and be as efficient as we can with technology and legal assistance and clerks trying to help us out in the summer. We're doing everything we can to keep those costs down. But yeah, we're experiencing above, everything's been increasing in those 5 years. And I can do a full report on that. I'm not seeking for other attorneys help cover that, we'll do the best we can with what we have. But we are doing more and more, and so over the last 5 years, we've seen an increase in everything that we're doing in our office. Good question.
Thank you.
And James, you've gotten grants too. We know that, her name escapes me. Terrell,
Yeah.
yeah, has gotten a lot of grants.
Yeah, and Cameron's office has been very patient with all the grants that we try to manage, but that's true, and they pay for, we have attorneys in our office that are paid for by those grants, so we're trying to do all we can to offset. The neat thing about those grant fundings, I need to say this, because I'm cognizant of the public paying for this. And when you hear federal grants, you think that federal government's just reaming us all and taking the money and just robbing us, right? And just giving it to the states. But those federal grants are paid, and it was set up during Reagan's administration by the fines and fees and assessments in the federal system that are paid by criminals. So it's not our tax dollars, it's not each of ours coming back to us in those grants, but those federal grants are coming back to us to being paid by criminals. So that brings me some peace, quite frankly, and it's good money used, and the federal system has been very good of assessing those fines and restitution and fees that actually come back to states. So I'm appreciative of that. But we do go out and we actively seek those, and Tara Warner, my office, has been remarkable in providing for those grants. I'm glad that she's going to stay around. I'll just report this. She's been helping, like Craig, with the transition of the lieutenant governor, and they asked for her resume. And I was worried about that, but she reported to me, James, I'm staying, we've got a project, I'm not going to leave, and I'm not submitting my resume. So we want to keep intact the people we have and keep their salaries where they can compete and provide for their families, and you've been good to us, so thank you.
If those grants disappeared, how many lawyers, attorneys would you lose?
I know at least one plus. Cameron, I know there's at least one prosecutor that is fully on that. I think upwards of 2.
Yeah, there's investigations that have paid
Yep.
for 12.
Yep.
Your victim advocate for most that paid for by those grants.
And victim advocates, those grants, we're just working a case today, and it will be the 3rd time we've met with a victim on a sexual assault case. Our victim advocates front a lot more than just 3 times meeting with the victim. I don't know how we could do our work without those victim advocates assisting and helping victims because of the legal work that needs to be done, and then you have the emotional support and help that victims need, and direction and guidance. And so, yeah, those grants really offset and leverage the attorney's time that we're able to put to the trial prep and motion work and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Why I ask that is, as we look down the road, do we need to start somehow building something in there to prepare that if those grants were gone,
Yeah.
that we can still serve the people,
Yeah, that's a wonderful discussion, probably one that is a concern of mine is, the grants have been going up for some time and the projections may be that they go back down. They've been pretty stable for us over the years, the grants that we've been getting, the VOCA and VAWA grants, but we ought to have a safe plan, and that's worth talking about. We've thought about that. In fact, some of the money we're using to offset this new position would be we're not providing a full-time victim advocate for a justice court prosecutor, which we've had, and so, but good point. We'll look at that more closely and actually come back and report that to you.
Thank you. Any other questions for James?
I don't know, I think your office does an amazing job, thank you.
I'll say.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Jess?
All right, I'm up. Council, first thing, let me just say, I think you deserve a raise. No one else does. I truly believe you do. I think
That's the question. That's the question.
I think when I was on city council, I received more. The Logan City Council, I know, receives higher wages than the county council, and I can tell you that you are over some critical items, and I think that you do deserve to be compensated for those as a council member. I think your arguments were good of why you would need a raise. And the other argument is if you want to stay competitive to local, Logan City Council would be the first place I'd look. And so, anyway, thank you for all you do. I apologize, I didn't reach out to some of you. I mentioned this at the canvas is where I brought this up. So those who were at the canvas, I broke the news there, and then I probably should have reached out to other council members to inform them of my intention to well, I did last week, I believe. I talked to some of you about it, but formally I should have reached out. I'm still getting used to government in some ways. I'm used to going in the private sector and saying, hey, HR, which I am, I need another person. I'm falling behind on my work. We need some help. And they say, okay, well, let's look at it, do an analysis. Yeah, it does look like you need some. Let's move on it. So there are some things that I'm still learning. I'm still cutting my teeth in the government sector a little bit. There's some questions as to if this is a necessary position. The next year is going to require heavy lifting. I know that it is going to be a difficult year for the clerk and auditor's office. We're going to be I've done analysis on all of our processes, policies, and tools that we use. And we have a lot of updating that we need to do. I'll tell you, the first day I walked into my office, this is just a story, and this doesn't reflect poorly or well on anyone or negatively, but I walked in and there was now Sharon's heard this, but there was a typewriter behind my desk. And, we are still using some technology that we need to be able to have funding to update, and the same goes with our staff. We are oftentimes, so for instance, today, one person was out due to COVID exposure and from elections, and the other person was on vacation, and that means that nobody is in the office for elections. And so we are in a situation that we have kind of a brain drain happening. As you know, we don't have Kim Gardner is no longer with the county. And then we also have Randy Gus, who was our elections hardware specialist. And he had been asking for retirement for a number of years. He had already been retired. He was formerly with the county as an IT, a part-time IT, full-time employee, but part-time with the IT office and part-time with the clerk's office. It ended up that he was full-time with the clerk's office and the IT was paying for half of it. So we wish we could still have that. If you're willing to do that, we'll accept that. But what we need is to have him back again or a replacement. So what happened is he left the county and retired, and we need somebody to backfill his position permanently moving forward. So it's really not much of a gain. It's really just saying, hey, we lost him a number of years ago, and so we haven't replaced him in all these years, and we need to replace the knowledge. We do have we have an aging workforce, and I need to be able to say, I have my excellent employees who are here with the knowledge and the historical knowledge that we need, and then I also need to be able to say we need to have people that we can train, and that in a number of years, when those individuals retire, that we have the people capable to take their place. The other thing is we don't have full-time staff, so I think this is important to understand, is that I'm relying on people who are part-time in my office to get the job done. And if we don't, part-time is a tricky thing because dependent on kind of this agreement that we want you to come here and they want to come, but at any time, they could say, hey, I'm done being part-time. I either want a full-time position elsewhere, or I really don't need this position anymore. And so that creates a tricky position where if that's who you're relying on and those are the only individuals trained, then if they leave, you have a complete brain drain, is what I would call it. And at the county, we can't afford to have that, and in this position, we can't afford to have that either. It will have some high upfront costs, but really not necessarily. I work for Thermo Fisher. I think our front desk probably makes something dollars an hour, and that's just somebody who's, running very simple reports and greeting people. And so, plus benefits, plus education benefits, plus all types of different things. And so, really, this position, I think, is at $15 to $20 an hour plus benefits, and we added a total compensation of $60,000. And so, that's probably more information than you needed, but I want you to understand.
I got a question, and I guess I'm not in the loop anywhere. I'm assuming that, of course, Kim has retired or she's left, and we're gonna replace her. Has that been done?
That is official, correct.
Have we replaced her?
Yes, somebody will be starting in January, but we have not replaced her. They're not here. We are down that head count, as you would say, and so we are running lean in all aspects of the department.
So we're actually running the county, like you're saying, with part-time people filling in for what other individuals have been doing. Now, I didn't understand the Randy deal. He's been involved in the elections, and of course, he's came from, you mentioned one other department, halftime. Is Randy gone?
Yeah, Randy is gone.
Retired. He was here not too long ago.
Correct. He has agreed. I worked out a deal with Randy so that he has agreed to come back and help to train whoever we hire for this position. But we have a very few hours allocated for him. I believe 200 hours total for the next year.
So there's two individuals that are going to come into your office. They've been there. They've been functioning when we get the replacement in. Of course, they're not up to speed yet. It takes time. No matter who you retire, it's going to take time to get them to do your exact wishes.
Yeah.
So if we get those two people up and going, you don't have either one of them now. Well, I guess you got Randy a little bit. Are you still needing another individual above and beyond that when we've been functioning all these years with those two individuals? Yeah, tell me what's on your mind.
Those are the two that I have the requests in for. So the one is the replacement for Randy, and then the one is
You need Randy to do, is he the one that you're requesting for elections?
the replacement for Randy.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And he's only part-time in your department, and so you're requesting the other half of his salary to come into your department. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, because Randy was full-time a few years ago, and he was full-time with the clerk's office due to a deal that a hybrid agreement that there was between the clerk's office and the IT department. And so Randy was full-time, but he ended up being with the clerks, but half of his salary would come out of IT.
Yeah, so we do, of course, if we're doing this properly, we do his salary through your department, not through the IT.
Correct.
So is he the one that you're requesting for a full-time elections person?
Not him specifically, but someone to replace him.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's gone. He's
Yeah.
here helping us, but, so you're really not requesting anybody new, are you?
No, well,
Requesting a half a person new.
half a person new, yeah. I guess that's how you would.
Get your terminology right, or you never can, us council can't keep up with you.
Yes, it would be really it's a right sizing is what I would describe this as, is we're going back a few years to where we were with our head count then. I guess that would be the best.
Well, hasn't Randy been with the IT pretty well the whole time, and we just was using the clerk's office because of all the workload that was there?
It's a story I could tell you of how we kind of ended up. He was with IT, and then the clerk's office needed him for IT elections because he had the hardware and technological capabilities to run that other office staff just didn't have, and so they brought him in half-time in the clerk's office. They found that they needed somebody full-time to help them with their IT and network and elections it's truly a full-time job for somebody to go around and help cities do things and to help. And just so everyone knows, we may be taking on, by statute, there may be a requirement in the future for us to take on some of the city workload when it comes to elections. And so I may have to come to you again if anything like that occurs. But the way that it worked out is that Randy was paid half through our office, half through IT, but we got the benefit of him full-time in our office, and so.
So Jess, this money that you're asking for is half of his person's salary, right?
Well, so Randy worked 600, I think this year he's worked 500 or 600 hours. 700, the maximum allowed by law due to his URS status. And so the reality is that we had him slated for 200 hours. He charged us 700 hours because elections take up a lot of time. And his salary, is open access. He was making 25, I believe, an hour. And whoever we hire will be making less than that. But it's a right sizing, I guess you would call it. It's starting fresh in that area, but yet having him come and train them.
I know when I looked at that and I realized this doesn't add up because his benefit package, the employee benefit, I keep thinking we're talking about Randy. We're not talking about Randy. We're talking about a future employee. But what we're going to do, the salary, my word, his benefit package was just a little bit lower than his salary. So then I knew something was up. There was money coming from somewhere else, and so that's kind of a question that I had for you. But when this is all said and done, we'll have a replacement for Randy, and we'll have a replacement for Kim, and then we can run until we find somewhere else that you need some help.
Yeah, and my intention, just so everyone knows, I'm very open and honest. If anyone ever has any questions about my department, I'm an open book. My intention is to run in the future as long as I can and try to bring in interns and fill in any gaps with low-cost labor and rely upon the resources that I currently have and that I've requested in this allocation. I think that our office can do a lot of good by building a strong relationship with the university, bringing in young talent and showing them, or any talent for that matter, doesn't matter about age, but with the university, and show them what it's like to work in government and build up a new generation of people who are excited to go into this type of work. I think it'll be important for us to build those type of relationships.
That's one good angle. Of course, you look at the other angle is you bring in part-time employees, and while you're part-timing them, you're training them to fill in when you do have a employee that gets to the retirement age. You got someone that's trained that can step right in, and that should be one of the things that we look at when we do part-time is we bring people in that we can train, but we've got the ability to step in when full-time opportunities come along.
I agree with you on that. One of the benefits is when you bring in part-times or temporary employees or interns, is that it's a great way that you get to see their capabilities before it, rather than just a job interview where you say, hey, tell me how good you are. You actually get to say, hey, come and help us, and if this works out for you, if it works out for us, we can take a look at maybe bring you in a little bit more.
Well, you answered my question. I was, a little bit in the dark, and now I understand what's going on. It makes a lot more sense, and I can support it. I can support both of them.
I still am a little confused, Jess, because you have 32,000 for the election specialist, but yet you're saying that that election specialist was paid partly out of the IT department, correct?
Years ago. And so what it was years ago, it was paid out of the IT department, and this would be a return to a few years ago, what it would have reflected in the budgets of years past.
So is this half of the wage that that new specialist will be earning, or will it be the full wage that they're
No,
earning?
it'll be the full wage. It's not going to be an extremely high
Okay.
wage, I wouldn't say.
Well, I at least want to make, this year of all years would demonstrate that what we've been missing in a lot of areas is competence. And we need to have everyone feel confident in elections. So I don't want to quibble of, you know, a little bit, because you go out and you start looking at what states that had problems in the past, right? I mean, you go back to, what, 2000, and the election then in Florida mucked things up so bad, and then you look at the election this year, and they were right out of the gate, done, boom, we're finished, and they fixed, and imagine how nice that was for them and what they had to invest to have that done, and I think we definitely owe that to the citizens. Confidence in that office, and when we're seeing the turnover, we want to make sure that we can keep that in place.
Of course, the key to elections is to run an honest election where you've got checks and balances, and as long as you're doing that, you're not gonna have a problem. But as soon as you get a situation where there's not an opinion on both sides, that's when you're gonna get in trouble.
Well, one of the things that can also create, I'll tell you, that I've also got in my request, I let this cat out of the bag when it came to my canvas as well, is that we have a request in there for ballot scanners, envelope openers, paper joggers, all more modern and can reduce some of our part-time, or excuse me, seasonal workers that we requested. We have the cost of an election has continued to rise, and my goal in this is to thwart that, to flatten that curve, so to speak, which has become, you know, that's meh. Anyway, my goal is to make sure that those costs stay down over time, and the way that we do that is by modernizing the office. And so, just for instance, we had 5,000 provisional ballots because we didn't have the technology in place to run them as a regular ballot on election day. And so we had to run everything as a provisional ballot. To give you a comparison, the reason that it can cost so much and be such a drain upon the county is that the Utah County, for instance, had 7,000, and they have, you know, 500,000-600,000 people, whereas we have 120. And so it cost us the same amount of work hours to get our provisionals done as a county with 600,000 people. And that's because we didn't have the technology in place to get things done the way that some of those bigger counties done. So what I've done is analyze what the bigger counties are doing, trying to do some of the same technology on a smaller scale so that we can also, and the great thing is that they go first, make sure that that technology is capable of doing what it needs to do, and then we can reap the benefits of that. And so this next year, like I say, is going to be a heavy lifting year for my office. We're going to be transitioning to digital. We will be training. You'll see an increase in my training budget because I want to build the best capable team possible for the county. And I think that we'll reap the benefits of that in the long term.
Any other questions for Jess?
One quick one here is, I know legislature is looking at, you know, some possible changes. In other words, counties running elections of all the cities, all those kind of things legislatively. These increases that you've had, this technology, all this stuff, is it will that have to be redone, or will we have to go? If you think this legislation comes through and we end up having to do all these cities elections, are we gonna see another double of this and another double of this to do their? Or
No.
will this equipment that you're looking at, is it portable? Is it,
Very portable.
stuff that can be, used in one site, or does it have to?
Yeah, so they call them DS200s. You can look them up on YouTube if you have the desire. DS200 by ES&S.
Out of Venezuela?
No. But what it is basically it's the size of like a printer or a scanner. And all you do is at the end, when you have received your envelope, you walk up, you scan it in, you press submit. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not connected to the internet, so nobody's going to hack it. And at the end of the night, the election official, no matter where in the whole valley they are, so let's just say that we took on elections for the cities, we would go there with a USB, that's a protected USB, go in, get the data from that scanner, so you can just put one per city. Logan may require a couple, but we've planned on that. We're requesting 20. And so we will be prepared for this type of thing if it happens. And that's one of the things is I'm not looking for the next 5 years, 4 years. I'm looking for the next, 10, 15, 20 years to make sure that we have the requirements in place. So you get the data on a USB, you put it into our other computer that is also not connected to the internet. You aggregate that data, and then you can release those results. And it's portable. Again, it's smaller than, it's probably the size of this. So each city gets something about the size of this podium, square, and you're off to the races. All you need to be able to do is have one printer to print a ballot and one scanner to scan a ballot. And most of the cities in our valley will only require one, maybe two for election night. And so we will be capable of handling those elections.
I bring that up for a couple things. One is that down there in a building at the fairgrounds, we had stored a bunch of election machines and stuff that were, that I guess they were valuable at the time, but they didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And we've changed all that, so that investment and everything and all that was just like, okay, it worked once. Our expenses gonna be like this every election year? Are we gonna have to get new things? Is it gonna be that redundant, or and the other thing is when you buy equipment, you have to have a place for them to be, not just storage. I'm talking use. And so we're gonna have to look at capital improvements. We're gonna have to look at, all these other things. Is just gonna eventually start growing yourself out of your cubbyhole, which we'd like you to be in.
Well, the first thing I need to say is we have outgrown our cubbyhole. Our elections office is far bigger already than the two offices that we're in. We've already had to kind of kick the auditor out into one of the other offices, so we've currently got 3 offices that we're in. And we've already used up all the space. We have elections equipment everywhere, and we've got people where they probably shouldn't, they just shouldn't be there because they don't fit in one area. And so we will be needing space in the future. I can only implore that you help us find a space, because I think the only space that we can either move into is either our warehouse, which I'm okay with. It would require some capital improvements to get to the place where we could do it. We could make it work, but the other thing is, or you give us the multi-purpose room where everybody likes to have their lunches and meetings and different things like that. Those are the only spots that we've outgrown our offices to the point where we have to move into that. Or if there's another option out there, I would encourage you to take that so that we can move into that. Elections are quite complicated, not because of what they are, but because of the statutes that govern them. And so we do need some space to accommodate all of the laws and legalities surrounding the elections and holdings.
Just have a question for you, and first I want to just say thank you for thinking through all of this and bringing us up to speed and all that you're doing in your office. I think it's commendable. My question, and I know we talked before, but since this goes to the budget issue, I still have concerns about having ballots, mail-in ballots that you sign the outside of the envelope and there's not an inner envelope. And I know you talked to me about how that could save money on machinery because you're only using them half as much to open it. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels about it, but I'd rather pay for extra machinery than have that signature on the outside of the envelope. But I'm still concerned about the privacy issue for voters.
We will do whatever you're willing to pay for, but that is the kicker. And so we can cut down the time it takes for us to count ballots by more than half if we go to a ballot that's signed, or not a ballot, excuse me, an envelope. It's a security envelope still. All you're doing is signing the outside. We can save more than half of the time that it takes. But again, we're willing to do whatever the council deems necessary. My job is just to come and say, here are the options. This seems like the best thing moving forward. We could save about $40,000 per year of major elections because you'd save about $20,000 per mailer because you don't use both envelopes. And so it's a significant cost savings. That's the cost of a full-time employee for us. And I'd much rather have the employee because just so everyone knows, we've also purchased 3 additional drop boxes to ensure the safety of our elections. And so we'll be strategically putting those throughout the county to make sure that everybody has the opportunity. If you don't trust the mail, or if you would prefer that if in the future we had it so that you had the signature on the outside, that you could very easily and readily have access to a drop box. That's our goal, is to make sure that we accommodate in that way. So, and just so everyone knows, about half or more than half of the people use the drop boxes this election. We had to go out every day, which shows a shift in people's thinking about maybe the mail system and the security of their envelopes was significantly was a significant topic this election. So.
But I worry about your signature on the outside of that envelope not being inside another envelope. That puts that signature.
Other counties have had success doing that, and other states. There's never been somebody who's harvested what I would say harvested signatures. If you really wanted to get into like mail, you send your credit cards through the mail, and people could easily figure out who, if something was a credit card or things like that. You send a lot of secure things through the mail. But, again, if council said we don't feel comfortable with it, I'm not here to say, council, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do what I want to do. My job would be to say, all right, if you help me fund it, if you build it, they will come. If you help fund it, I will do what you need me to do.
All right.
Thanks, Jess.
All right.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on can we approve the 21 budget without approving the salaries for the council?
I looked at that too, and I don't think we can we?
James, do you know?
I think that's actually just fine. It's either on you approve budgets, and if you want to do part now and part later, that's it. It just has to be done by the deadline. Probably the next council meeting.
I agree. I think your final approval would be after we approve the salaries.
Well, it's an initial proposal.
No reason you can't wait till next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what the council's preference would be?
Yeah.
Okay. We won't move on any of those then, and that was our last item. So, as a consequence,
Do we need to do 12E, amending the 2020 budget?
let's see. Oh, yeah, we didn't do that one. Thank you. A lot of budget items on here. We've had that in our packets. We got email information from Cameron as well. Are there any questions about those amendments? There was nothing significant that I noticed.
I say we did go over that last meeting, didn't we?
Yeah. So we could act on that one. Someone inclined to waive the rules and make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll waive the rules and move to approve Resolution 2020-28, amending the 2020 budget.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Gina. All right. Have I missed anything else? Okay, well, I think we can adjourn.